Subscribe to this channel to support our growth. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your city and country help us know you better. 2 hours earlier, Ryan Hale left his apartment with a headache and an empty stomach. He had slept 3 hours, if that. His company, Hale Capital, had a big deal that week. He had stayed up late reading reports, skipping dinner, then woke with a dizzy feeling he brushed off. Coffee will fix it, he told himself. His driver, Sam, opened the car door, but Ryan waved him off. "I'll walk the last block," he said. "Get the car around." He wanted a breath of cool air before a long day of numbers, phone calls, and quick decisions. He had always been the strong one, the one who pushed through and never showed weakness. But as he crossed the street, the world tilted. The air felt thin. He reached for the hood of a parked car to steady himself. Then a hard drop. A flash of sky. The wet ground. Darkness. A few blocks away, Lily and her mother, Sarah Parker, were on their way to the bus stop. Sarah worked mornings at a bakery and cleaned offices at night. Money was tight, but she kept the home gentle and warm. "Be kind, be brave," she always told Lily. Lily loved making little help kits from a plastic sandwich box, Band-Aids, a tiny bottle of water, and a note that said, "It's okay. You're not alone." She carried it in her small backpack like a secret toolbox. She was 5, with big brown eyes and a serious way of speaking, as if every word mattered. They were talking about the school art fair when Sarah stopped. "Hold my hand," she said. People ahead had formed a loose circle on the sidewalk. Something was wrong. A man lay on the ground with his arm bent at an odd angle. "Someone call an ambulance," a woman said, but no one moved. Sarah squeezed Lily's hand. "Stay back," she whispered. But Lily slipped free, stepped into the circle, and crouched by the man's side. "Sir? Can you hear me?" The man did not answer. Lily took out her little phone, the one Sarah had taught her to use only for emergencies. Her thumb shook as she pressed the numbers. 911, she said when the operator answered. He fell down. He looked sick. "We're on Willow Street next to the blue bakery sign." The dispatcher's voice was calm. "Good, you're doing great. Can you put your hand near his mouth? Is he breathing?" Lily leaned close. "Yes, a little." "Is there anything around him? A bag? A phone? Anything that shows his name?" Lily looked around and found a slim black wallet half under the man's jacket. She did not open it, but she read the tiny silver letters on the card holder. Ryan Hale. "His name is Ryan," she told the dispatcher. "He's wearing a suit and a watch." The dispatcher said help was on the way and told her to keep talking to him. "Sometimes people can still hear you." So Lily talked. "Hi Ryan. My name is Lily. I'm not leaving you." She placed her small hand on his wrist, copying what she had seen on TV. She counted softly, 1, 2, 3, trying to match her breath to his. Sarah crouched on the other side, her eyes full of worry and pride. "You're doing well," she told her daughter. "I'm here." A paramedic truck rolled in fast. The team moved like a dance, gloves, checks, a gentle tilt of the chin, a mask. One paramedic, Tom Reed, met Lily's eyes. "You're brave," he said. "Did you call us?" Lily nodded. "Then you helped save his life." He looked at Sarah. "We'll take him to St. Mary's." He took the wallet to check ID and tucked it in a bag. Another paramedic slid an oxygen mask over the man's face. "Heart rhythm is slow," he said, "but steady." They lifted him carefully into the ambulance. Lily reached into her backpack and took out her help kit. She pulled out the little folded note and tucked it under the man's hand. It said in shaky letters, "It's okay. You're not alone, Lily." Then the doors shut and the siren pulled the morning apart. News travels fast in a city. By the time Sarah got to work, the bakery's small TV was already showing shots from the street. A caption ran across the screen. "Local CO collapses. Child calls 911. The camera had caught a glimpse of a tiny girl with a backpack kneeling beside a man in a gray suit. The baker, Mr. Cole, looked from the screen to Sarah. "Is that?" Sarah nodded, cheeks warm. "Please don't say anything," she said. "We don't want trouble." He smiled. "It's not trouble to be kind." Low, at St. Mary's, the hospital lights hummed. Ryan woke to a soft beeping sound and the smell of clean sheets. He tried to sit, but his chest felt heavy. A nurse pressed a gentle hand to his shoulder. "Easy, Mr. Hale. You fainted. Your body is exhausted. Your blood sugar dropped very low. You're lucky a kid saw you and called for help." Ryan blinked. "A kid?" The nurse smiled. "A little girl. 5, the paramedic said. She knelt beside you and stayed calm." She handed him a small folded note. "She tucked this in your hand." He opened it slowly. It's okay. You're not alone. Lily. The words hit him harder than any boardroom fight. He had not felt not alone in years. Hi. Ryan's assistant, Nora Quinn, stepped in with a tablet and a worried look. You scared everyone, she said quietly. The board wants updates. Ryan waved that away. Find the girl, he said. Her name is Lily. She saved me. Nora nodded. We'll check with paramedics, cameras, nearby shops. She stopped, reading his face. He looked different, less sharp, more human. Also, she added, the press already knows. Do you want to make a statement? Ryan stared at the little note in his hand. Later. He took a breath, slower this time. First, I want to say thank you. To her. Back at home, Sarah tried to keep things normal. She made tea. She checked the rent notice on the fridge again and again, as if the numbers might change if she stared long enough. The building had a new owner this month. The letter said the new company would raise the rent in 30 days. It felt impossible. We'll figure it out, Sarah told herself. One step at a time. She did not tell Lily about the letter. She had already taken on enough today. 2 men in suits stood outside the bakery by noon. They did not buy bread. They spoke into small earpieces. One came in and asked, Is there a little girl named Lily Parker here? Mr. Cole's shoulders went tight. Why? The man showed a card. We work for Mr. Hale. Sarah wiped her hands on her apron and stepped forward. We don't want trouble, she said. We just called for help. The man's voice softened. No trouble. Mr. Hale asked us to thank your daughter. He wants to meet her. He glanced at Sarah's flour-dusted clothes. Now, if possible, we can take you to the hospital. Sarah looked down at Lily, who was coloring a card with stars and crooked hearts. Do you want to go? She asked. Lily nodded, serious again. He might be scared, she said. I want to tell him he's okay. Sarah hesitated, then agreed. Just a short visit, she told the men. We have to be back by 3. The car was quiet. Lily pressed her face to the window and watched the city slide by. She held the little plastic box of Band-Aids in her lap like a treasure. Sarah sat stiff and alert, hands clasped together. She had met plenty of polite men in suits who smiled and said the right words, then signed papers that made life harder for people like them. She did not know what to expect from the richest man in the city, even one who had a note from her daughter in his hand. When they reached the hospital floor, a nurse led them down a hall with soft lights. He's been asking for you, she said. He keeps reading your note. She winked at Lily. You wrote neat for a 5-year-old. Lily grinned a little and tucked her chin. Ryan stood by the window in socks, a robe tied around his waist, and 4 taped to his hand. He looked younger without the hard suit lines. His eyes were bright but tired. When he saw Lily, he smiled in a way that looked new on his face. He knelt carefully so his eyes were level with hers. Hi Lily, he said. I'm Ryan. Thank you for helping me. She lifted the plastic box in both hands. This is my help kit, she said. You can keep it. But I only have 2 Band-Aids left. Ryan swallowed a laugh and then a tear. I think 2 is enough, he said softly. You have no idea how much this means to me. He looked at Sarah. Thank you for letting her stop. Sarah's throat tightened. She's the brave one, she said. I was scared. Ryan nodded. Me too. He said it like a confession. He glanced at the note again. It's okay. You're not alone. He looked out at the gray sky, then back at them. May I ask where you live? I'd like to send a small gift. Just a thank you. Sarah shifted on her feet. That's kind but not needed, she said, trying to keep her voice even. We're fine. Lily tugged her sleeve. Can we give him the star? She asked. She pulled a paper star from her pocket, cut with child hands and colored gold. This is for brave days, she told Ryan. You can put it on your wall so you remember to rest. Ryan held the star carefully as if it were made of glass. For a moment, something like regret crossed his face. He thought of all the people who worked while he slept, cleaned while he ate, walked while he rode. He thought of how he had not noticed. He opened his mouth to say something big and honest, but the door swung wide. Nora stepped in with a phone. I'm sorry to interrupt, she said, but there's something you need to see. Nora turned the screen toward him. A news site showed a photo of Lily kneeling by his side, the note half visible near his hand. Below it was a second story just posted with another headline. New owner announces rent hike at Willow Court Apartments. The logo in the corner was Hale Capital's. Sarah saw it at the same moment and went still. Willow Court, she said. Her voice had a new hardness. That's our building. The room seemed to shrink. Ryan's eyes darted between the screen and Sarah. I didn't, he started then stopped. He knew the truth. He had signed a stack of documents last week without reading every line. He paid people to study the details. Today the details had faces. Please sit, he said to Sarah, hearing the shake in his own voice. She did not sit. Her jaw tightened. I don't want a gift, she said. I want a home I can afford. Lily looked up, confused. Mom? It's okay, Sarah whispered, smoothing her daughter's hair. She looked back at Ryan. Raise the rent if you must. That's your business. But know this, when no one moved, my 5-year-old did. Not for money. Not for thanks. Just because it was right. The room was quiet. Ryan could not meet her eyes for a beat. Then he did and did not look away. He spoke slowly. I am sorry, he said. I didn't know. And it is my job to know. He turned to Nora. Freeze that increase right now. Nora nodded. I'll call legal. Ryan looked at Sarah again. I can't fix everything in a minute, he said, but I can start. He tapped the little star with one finger. This says brave days. I want to earn it. A knock at the door cut through the air. A man in a dark suit stepped in without waiting to be invited. He had a sharp smile and a polished look. Apologies, Ryan, he said, not sounding sorry. I'm Blake from legal. We have investors on a call. They're not happy about the pause. We need you to make a statement and keep the plan. If we push it back now, we look weak. Ryan's back straightened, the old boardroom reflex rising like a shield. Mr. Blake, he said, voice cool. I just fainted on a sidewalk and woke up to learn we're raising rents on families like the one who saved me. If investors think kindness is weakness, they can call me themselves. Blake's smile tightened. It's not about kindness. It's about terms we already signed. He slid a folder onto the tray by the bed. The schedule is binding. Lily reached for the folder with the innocent curiosity of a child. She recognized the paper in the front, a notice like the one on the fridge at home. She looked at the top line and sounded out the words. Willow Court, rent change. She looked up at Ryan. This is ours. Ryan glanced down and went very still. He touched the corner of the paper with his four-taped hand as if paper could bite. How many units? He asked without taking his eyes off the notice. 62, Blake said. Raise begins next month. Ryan nodded slowly, thinking. He looked at Lily, the girl who had placed her tiny hand on his wrist, and at Sarah, who carried a whole home in the set of her shoulders. He felt the edge of two lives pressing together, his and theirs, and knew this was not random. He spoke in a steady voice that surprised even him. Blake, leave us. Blake started to object, but Ryan's eyes left no room. The door clicked shut. Ryan turned to Sarah. I want to help, he said. Not with a one-time gift. Not with a photo and a headline. With something that lasts. Sarah folded her arms. Help can be a chain, she said. Help can also be respect. We want the second one. Ryan nodded. Then let me respect you by telling you the full truth. He took a breath. There's more to this building than a rent increase. We plan to sell it in 6 months. The buyer wants the land for new offices. I should have read the plan line by line. He looked at Lily. I don't want you to lose your home because of me. The door opened again. This time the figure in the doorway was a tired man in a paramedic jacket. Tom Reed stepped in with a paper cup. I brought this back, he said, holding up the wallet bag. A kid found it near you. He looked at Lily and grinned. Small hero. Then he turned to Ryan. One more thing. You had something else in your hand when we loaded you. We didn't notice until we reached the ER. This little card. He held up the help kit note Lily had tucked into Ryan's palm. We keep a copy of notes like this in a folder. We put them on the wall to remind us why we do this job. He set the note on the rolling tray and squeezed Lily's shoulder. You kept your head, kid. You saved a life. Lily beamed. Sarah's eyes softened. Ryan felt a tightness in his chest that had nothing to do with fainting. Thank you, he told Tom. For everything. Tom saluted a little and left them to the heavy thing in the room that was not the 4-pole or the folder. It was choice. Ryan turned back to Sarah. Would you both come see me tomorrow morning? He asked. I need to speak with my team tonight. I want to show you what I plan to do, and I want your honest eyes on it. Sarah studied him, weighing more than words. We'll come, she said at last. But we don't want to be part of your story if it's only for show. Ryan managed a small smile. I think you've already made me change the story. They stood to leave. Lily stepped close and stuck the gold paper star on the side of the 4-pole. So you don't forget, she said. Ryan laughed softly. I won't. The elevator doors opened with a soft bell. Sarah and Lily stepped in with the two men in suits. As the doors began to close, Nora hurried down the hall with a new sheet of paper in her hand. Ryan, she called. You need to see this. He took it and read with a frown. The letter was from a rival company he had battled for years. They offered to buy Willow Court at a high price, but only if the rent increase stayed and the sale moved fast. At the bottom was a single line: if you delay, we will move the deal to your competitor and sue for interference. Ryan looked up as the elevator doors sealed on Sarah and Lily. He pressed the call button, but the elevator was already going down. He stared again at the letter, then at the gold star shining on the four-pole. He could choose money and safety for his company. Or he could choose the girl who had called 911 and the mother who had spoken truth to his face. He closed his eyes and saw a small hand on his wrist and heard a tiny voice say, "I'm not leaving you." When the doors slid open again, Ryan stepped in without his slippers, the letter crumpling in his fist. He headed to the top floor where the meeting room looked over the whole city. He would have to face his board and his investors. He would have to decide if he could hold the line for people who trusted him without knowing his name. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. Inside the glass room, men and women in suits waited with cold faces and hot words. Ryan's heart pounded. He lifted the gold star from the four-pole and slipped it into his pocket. The screen lit up with the rival's offer. Ryan cleared his throat. "Before we talk numbers," he said, voice steady but tight, "we need to talk about who we are." The room murmured. A storm gathered. The chapter ends here, because the next words will either save a home or break a promise. The boardroom stretched wide, its glass walls reflecting the storm clouds rolling in over the city. 11 people sat around a polished oak table, screens glowing with numbers and graphs. At the head, Ryan Hale stood barefoot, the hospital robe hidden under a hastily buttoned blazer Nora had brought him. The 4 tapes still clung to his hand, but his voice was steady. "Before we talk numbers," Ryan said, "we need to talk about who we are." Blake, the company's lawyer, leaned back in his chair, smug. "With respect, Mr. Hale, who we are is simple: Hale Capital. Investors don't care about personal stories. They care about returns." Ryan pulled the folded letter from his pocket and slapped it on the table. "And this," he said sharply, "is not a return. This is a ransom." The room fell into uneasy silence. One board member, a gray-haired woman named Ellen Strauss, cleared her throat. "Ryan, we sympathize, but delaying the rent increase jeopardizes the deal. 62 units or not, the land is worth millions. If we hesitate, we lose everything." Ryan touched the gold paper star in his pocket. He remembered Lily's small voice, "I'm not leaving you." He drew a breath. "I fainted in the street yesterday. You all saw the headline. A little girl I'd never met knelt beside me and called for help while grown adults filmed on their phones. She didn't ask what she'd get in return. She didn't weigh the risk. She acted. And because of her, I'm standing here. Now I ask you, what are we doing, squeezing families for profit while we pretend we don't see them on the ground?" Murmurs spread across the table. Blake smirked. "Moving speech. But words don't pay dividends. Investors are calling right now, furious about hesitation. They don't want a bleeding heart CEO. They want a strategist. Someone who can close." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Then they're about to find out who I am." Across the city, Sarah Parker tucked Lily into bed. The little girl clutched her backpack against her chest. "Do you think he's okay, Mom?" she whispered. Sarah smoothed her hair. "I think so. He looked stronger today." Lily blinked sleepily. "I hope he remembers the star." Sarah kissed her forehead. "I think he will." But in her own heart, Sarah doubted. Rich men remembered numbers, not paper stars. She turned out the light, unaware that Ryan was about to prove her wrong. Back in the boardroom, Ryan opened the folder of financials. Charts glowed on the screen, projected profits, rising shares, numbers stacked like towers. "Blake," Ryan said, "you talk about strategy. Let me show you mine." He tapped the screen. "We freeze the rent increase. We keep families in their homes. We offer tenants the chance to buy equity shares, small, affordable ones, in the property. They'll own a piece of the building instead of being pushed out of it. Investors still profit, but slower and steadier. And most importantly, we build loyalty and reputation that no rival can touch." Blake laughed bitterly. "You want to turn tenants into shareholders? That's not strategy. That's suicide." Ryan's eyes hardened. "No. Suicide is ignoring the people who keep our city alive. The bakery worker. The janitor. The mother who works 2 jobs to send her kid to school. Without them, our towers are empty glass. With them, we have a future. The room buzzed with whispers. Some skeptical, some thoughtful. Alan Strauss leaned forward. Ryan, it's bold. But can we sell it to Wall Street? Ryan placed the gold star on the table, its crumpled edges catching the light. Wall Street doesn't decide who we are. We do. Blake's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then stood abruptly. Excuse me. He stepped out into the hall, speaking fast into his headset. Nora frowned. That was strange. Minutes later, the big screen flickered. A rival company's logo appeared, followed by a press release. Willow Court acquisition confirmed, tenant rents to rise immediately under new ownership. Gasps filled the room. Ellen stood. Ryan, did we just lose the building? Ryan's stomach sank. Blake re-entered, feigning innocence. It seems the rival moved faster. Too bad. Maybe if we hadn't delayed. Ryan's eyes narrowed. You leaked it. Blake shrugged. Business is war. You hesitated and we lost. Ryan slammed his hand on the table. No, we didn't lose. They did. Everyone turned. Ryan's voice grew sharper, stronger. They bought land. I still have people. And I'll tell you something money can't buy: trust. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to Willow Court myself. I'll stand with those families. And if the rival company thinks they can bulldoze them, they'll face me in front of every camera in this city. Alan's eyes widened. You'd risk your reputation? Ryan smiled faintly. It's already at risk. I'd rather lose investors than lose my soul. Blake sneered. You'll destroy this company. Ryan leaned in. No, I'll save it. By remembering what that little girl reminded me, when someone's on the ground, you don't step over them. You help them up. The sun broke through the clouds as Ryan, dressed in a plain white shirt and slacks, walked up to Willow Court. Reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed. Sarah and Lily stood at the gate, shocked to see him. Mr. Hale? Sarah asked carefully. Ryan knelt before Lily. I remembered the star, he said softly. He pulled it from his pocket and pinned it to his shirt. And I came because you told me something no one else did. Don't leave. Lily smiled shyly. You came back. Ryan turned to the crowd. This building is more than land. It's families. It's lives. And as long as I have a voice, I'll fight for them to stay. The crowd erupted in cheers. But then black SUVs pulled up. The rival company's CEO, sharp-suited and smug, stepped out with Blake at his side. You're too late, Hale, he called. The contract is signed. We own it now. Ryan stood tall. Then you'll have to throw me out too. The cameras zoomed in. Tension crackled. The rival CEO hesitated. Crowds of tenants pressed forward, holding signs, chanting. The pressure was building. This was no longer numbers on paper. It was people, hearts, and lives. Finally, Alan Strauss arrived, breathless. Ryan. The board voted this morning. They back your plan. And with the press here, the rival can't move without looking like villains. The rival CEO's smirk faded. Blake paled. Ryan extended his hand toward Sarah and Lily. This is what Hale Capital stands for. People first. Always. In that moment, the tide turned. Reporters broadcast the story worldwide. Millionaire CEO chooses kindness over profit, saved by a 5-year-old girl. Investors who had doubted now called, impressed by the wave of public support. The rival company retreated under the glare of bad press. And for the first time in years, Ryan felt free, not chained to numbers but lifted by something bigger. He looked down at Lily. You changed my life, he said. Lily giggled. You fainted. I just called. Sarah smiled, tears shining in her eyes. Sometimes that's all it takes. Ryan nodded. And sometimes that's everything. If you believe that kindness can rewrite even the biggest story, share this video. Drop a comment. What would you have done if you were in Lily's shoes? And don't forget, subscribe to this channel to support our growth so we can keep bringing you stories that inspire and shake the heart. Because remember, one small act of bravery can change a millionaire's life forever.